I am the flatratemaster and we're live. So, figured I would do some funny stories from my, 30 plus years as being a technician. Might be a little entertaining, answer some questions. Maybe some of the people in the audience will tell funny stories as well. So, that's what we got going on. So, pop a chat here. No. All right, so Mike Nelson, what's going on from Minnesota? How cold is it up there? Georgia, this morning we had frost on the grass, so hopefully it wasn't too cold in Minnesota. You say Minnesota? Hey, Chris. I'm from Wisconsin. I can say that. Wisconsin. This is actually a related story to that. Mike Nelson, 21, not bad. 3 inches the other day. Toolbox background. I've explained this before, but I will explain it again. It's my GPU. It's putting a background. It's like Zoom meetings kind of thing. So it's just some people didn't like the gamer background. And currently my office is a complete disaster. So Keith, what's going on? Lakes Automotive, what's up? But yeah, Chris, that's what it is. It's just a picture. If you ever had to do Zoom meetings, that's what it is. Kind of the same technology, no green screen, just a background. So really it's just so I don't have to clean up my office. I've got a server running behind me. So, but anyway, getting back to the Minnesota, Wisconsin thing, I had just moved to Georgia and, I was 11, not very worldly. I was 11. So went to school and I was like, you got a weird accent there, boy. Like, I don't have an accent. You have an accent. Yeah, I didn't realize what a Midwest accent sounded like because everybody I knew up to that point had a Midwest accent. So, yeah. Then I realized I had a Midwest accent. Now I've got a mix of Midwest and Southern. It's always kind of funny. Bill, what's going on? Zeffel, I could if I had a good picture. I could make it look like I had dancing girls behind me if I wanted to. They wouldn't move. I mean, I guess probably could get it working with a green screen that I had action behind me. But anyway. And by the way, my GPU, there's only one graphics card for consumers that is higher level than my GPU. Thank you. And it is currently water cooled. So, yeah. Yes, for those not initiated, I've got coolant running through both of my PCs. Yes, both my PCs have radiators in them. Anyway, Phil H, I was in a Crown Vic backing out of shop, put it in drive, electric throttle body, throttle got stuck, wide open throttle, ran into the shop owner's Corvette, slammed it against a dumpster. Boss tried to move dumpster, pulled leg muscle. Dang. Ow. Phil H took pants off, fell in parking lot. Well, okay. Oh, that's the. Unfortunately, I have had some incidences of vehicles getting damaged in around the shop. I don't think I've ever told this story. But we had a full parking lot at the old shop, and this guy decided he was coming to pick up a dead car, completely dead, would not move under its own power, in a U-Haul truck and trailer. Not a pickup truck, U-Haul truck and trailer. And he could not back it up to save his life. So we went to go move cars. And as I opened the door on this Subaru, very new Subaru, the technician next to me put it in drive and went and crushed the door on it. And so there was a very expensive repair on that. So yeah, probably a little my fault, a little his fault, but it happens. But it was not I think we wound up disconnecting the trailer, carrying it around, letting him back up the van, and then we had to help him push the vehicle on the trailer. So that was not fun. Bill Beckett says, Mike looks very relaxed. He must be enjoying his work. I'm very much enjoying my work. No stress, no drama, no BS. The lack of BS is always awesome. Phil H, you really run coolant through your computers? Sounds expensive. Yes. The PC that I'm streaming on, just the water cooling fittings is probably about $300. The radiators were $100 each. The CPU water block is $250, I think. Pump was $270, and the GPU water block was $200. Coolant was about $50. So you think coolant is expensive for cars? No, I'm not doing any ADAS. Garrett, what's going on? No, brisket profit. I've never done ADAS at all. That gets subletted out, or not subletted, it gets shipped out. The bald mechanic, hard hearing, lost my wallet in my wife's grandmother's car. Don't ask. Okay, this is another story. And I don't remember what the heck I was doing. Was helping a technician at the shop, and it was a Subaru. I remember that, but he needed. The hood would not open. He pulled it out to, backed it out and went to go wash the car off, but he had shut the hood completely. The hood wouldn't open. So I was under the dash holding the hood latch to try to get it to, pop open. My wallet slipped out of my pants and went into behind their seat. And it was like right before everybody headed home. So I went to go change to go home, and I'm like, and I'm looking all over my bays, I think both the vehicles I've been working on were in my bays, and he's like, I bet it's in that Subaru. Ran out there. There was my wallet, Yeah, that'll give you a heart attack every single time. I don't care who you are. You lose your wallet, you're freaked out. Chris Storback, what are your thoughts on standardizing Rex strut shock replacement after 100,000 makes all models, and also what is the recommended fluid interval for CPU cooling fluid, flush or drain and fill? I'm not a really big fan of standard recommending on mileage. Like I've replaced struts at 30K because Atlanta has bad potholes and they're just blown out. And I've had other customers that have 150K on them and feel fine. Probably worn, but so it's hard for me to recommend anything just based on anything like that physically on just a mileage, simply because everything varies so much. Somebody driving highway miles, like I do for the most part, that's probably not as hard as 100,000 miles in downtown Atlanta only. And the interval for changing fluid is every year. If heavily used, it should be changed once a year. And it's just a drain and fill. On PCs. Jake Matthews had a staff member transporting huge cats in the back of a Armada. Tech heard a growl and ran. Had the zookeeper come out and show off the cat. Thing jumped up in the truck 12 feet, no problem. Oh, jeez. Have never had that happen. Was it like Tommy Boy door? Phil H, was it like Tommy Boy door fell off when the next guy opened it? What did you do, Richard? No, no, it just bent the hell out of the door. Bill Beckett, as long as nobody gets hurt, yeah, that's the big thing. The old shop we had a string of porters getting fired after they wrecked cars. We had a technician got rear-ended. Knock on wood, I don't think I've been in a accident with a customer's car that I recall. Pretty sure I haven't. Daniel BC, I just found out GM doesn't make all their parts. GM doesn't make most of their parts, dude. They used to own the companies that made a lot of their parts, but they sold a bunch of those off. Zeffel, if you want a more expensive GPU, look to data center cards. Those will cost you more than a vehicle usually. Here's the problem, though. A data center GPU isn't necessarily as powerful as any of my GPUs here. The forget A100, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, from NVIDIA, is the same die as a 3060, which is a mid-level card. It just has more VRAM and costs like $4,000 when they were new. I have 80 series cards in both my PCs, which are better cards. But yeah, they are stupid expensive. Garrett Arney, I had a couple of funny stories. Didn't think I have enough room to type it in. But basically, I had a dealer almost drop a Harley off a lift, but caught it. Had to reach into his pocket to call help. I got a story. It's not a good one for me, but it's humorous anyway. Chris Rainville, yes. Excuse me, my light fell. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm still working as a tech. Um, um, Garrett had another tech at the Harley dealer forget to pump the brakes and went to take it outside. Well, couldn't stop before the garage door. LOL. I unfortunately have a story like that. I didn't go through the garage door. I was, idling, but I did crunch the door, break some glass. I was doing a bunch of work on an old Escape, and I'd done the brakes. I put it on the ground, and I had to do something. I think I was having to do the ignition switch assembly on an Escape. So I had to back the car up, but I got distracted because another tech needed help. Went over there, helped them, didn't press the brakes, pump the brakes, and did it's a bad habit. Cranked the car up, put my foot on the brake, which deactivated the parking brake, interlock, put it in reverse, and it went high idle. So broke about 6 panes of glass in the door. Didn't even scratch the car. So I had to stay late and put cardboard, cut down and put plywood in the windows till we get them replaced. So that was fun. I can tell you right now, anytime I do brakes and doing any other work, I now open the door, hand pump the brake until I have a pedal. Just because of that car. Renegade, what's going on? Daniel, how do I make my truck ride like a Cadillac? Bilsteins are not that cushy of a ride. Most newer Cadillacs have the mag ride system, which has magnetically adjusted shocks. Don't know how you'd convert those in, but depend. What are you looking for as far as Cadillac? You're looking for, the boat kind of float. Get some really cheap shocks. It'll be floating like a boat pretty quick. That'd be what I want. That would be what I would suggest, but Bilsteins are going to give you a stiff ride. Renegade, did you see that Harbor Freight will be offering smoke machines and scan tools that look a lot like Launch? Well, Launch has been, everybody's been rebranding Launch and Autel. They used to sell an Autel rebrand. Yeah, I did see that. I remember when Harbor Freight was garbage. Like, you bought it for just, that wrench you're going to grind and that kind of stuff, and never took them serious. Now they're a serious contender in the tool space. I don't care what anybody says. Prices have gone up, but their quality has as well. So they want to get into that market. Harbor Freight sells a lot of tools. They've gone into hard. All you got to do is look at who posted stuff about Harbor Freight today, and who's sponsored by Harbor Freight. Just saying. They were at SEMA and, maybe at the, walk by the booth, maybe coincidence, but chances are they were probably were paid to promote, is the best way I can put it. But anyway, or maybe just not paid, but they're on the sponsors list for Harbor Freight. So anyway, but yeah, it's cool. I don't know, it could be a Redline rebrand. It could be an Autool rebrand. I don't know. But they're expanding, and that's cool. Options are always good for everybody. That was one of the things that limited us back in the day with tools. There was the tool trucks, Craftsman, and a couple brands that you may or may not have had access to, and then junk. So competition's always good. Sure, Snap-on and the tool brands are not real happy about it. When I worked for MotorVac, Champion Labs, or not. It's Champion Engineering, maybe. It's Champion. I don't remember. They designed the original smoke machines, and they held a bunch of patents on it. And the fluid that they used, it's, Redline, unfortunately had some very questionable marketing when they especially when they first came out. They had some really questionable marketing. But competition for a product, other options always helps drive the price down. Good for technicians. Anyway, that was a kind of rant. Anyway, let's move on. Smokey, fellow tech filled 1.4 Golf with 14 liters instead of 4.3 oil gun needed calibration. Ow. That's a funny story, actually. This was not me. This was long after I stopped working on big trucks, but a technician in the lower shop at a fleet store I worked at put an oil gun in the valve cover of an engine, clipped it on, and then got distracted. Filled up the engine. It was I think it was a medium duty truck. Yeah, because it was inside. It was parked. He pumped for hours into that engine. Pumped it slap full of oil. Did not start it up. But they had a hell of a time draining that truck. Like, they only had one big truck oil drain, that rolled under the truck. And it filled up. I think they filled it up 3 or 4 more times. And that thing was a pain in the butt to drain. I never had to drain it because I didn't work down there. But, they had to, you had to pump it out. So you had to hook it to I think it was like a suction system on the oil tank. But you had to sit there and suck it out with a vacuum pump, I think. And it took forever. So it took a long time to get all that oil out of there. Garrett Arney saw 2 delivery drivers slam into each other at the one dealer. Whirlpack has for years in Atlanta used contract drivers, and there was this one chick. Her car was always beat up. She just got a new car and pulled out into the intersection and got T-boned. And it wasn't her fault. But like brand new, still had the drive out tag on it, everything, got T-boned and wrecked her new car. I think she only delivered like one more time at that shop. Harold, what's going on? Smokey, my manager, when he was a tech, he drove a customer's car home to test drive, but he went to McDonald's, got in a massive crash. They fixed it, but the customer found the McDonald's receipt hit the fan. As long as the customer gave him permission to drive the vehicle, and as long as he didn't like eat in the car or anything like that, it shouldn't have been a big deal. But permission's not always actually asked for. So, Chris Storback, as a YouTube millionaire, do you still wrench because it's your passion or because of another reason? Money. No, I enjoy doing, automotive repair. I love diagnosing cars. It's fun. Some of the BS that you have to put up in this industry is not so fun, but the actual job I very much enjoy. Customer found out about the crash, took it to the news channel he was on TV and got fired. Damn. Chris Rainville, we had a coworker I've worked with since 96 for embezzling over $350,000 from the dealership. I'll give you a interesting story. The comptroller at a dealership down in Union City here in Georgia, it was a independent, crappy little dealership, and a former car dealer owner who had sold out years ago, he sold out to Team. His non-compete was finally up, so he bought this Chrysler dealership, and he retained all personnel. 6 months later, the comptroller was escorted out in handcuffs because of embezzlement. And I think it was a lot more than $350,000. Of course, that dealership was next to Bill Hurd, which if you're in Atlanta, Bill Hurd. Rampant problems in that dealership. That dealer group got shut down by GM for stealing from GM on their from financing for the floor plan. So when they, the internal financing, when they get cars in, goes on to a floor plan, which is just a revolving credit account. They had like 280 or something like that cars that were missing from the dealership that had already been sold, and they hadn't paid GM. Not going to even talk about the drug usage by the upper management of Bill Hurd. But anyway, dealerships are weird. T. Corellis, every once in a while, we have a delivery driver call the shop and tell us a random car drove up in their rear trailer ramp while making a delivery. Usually a 28 refrigeration trailer. Okay. 716 Auto, Icon has been pretty solid overall. Yeah. I mean, their wrenches and sockets are made by Cabo. So, I mean, literally, Cabo makes Matco's wrenches. Same place that makes Matco's stuff. Matco's wrenches. Renegade, they definitely stepped up their game. Yes. Jamie Smith, a crazy lady ran into the workshop, told me to shut the bonnet hood on her car because it will drain her battery on a 2002 Citroen Picasso. How does she expect you to work on it? Bill Beckett, if the quality is there, why not? Yeah, pretty much. And, easy warranty. Take it back in, get a new one. Smoky Body Shop, Zeffel totaled car door on a vehicle. They replaced the door, but screwed up the window regulator. The owner was really pissed, not because of the accident, because they tried to hide it. Yeah, you got to be honest. You can't cover up that kind of stuff. You have to call the customer and go, this is what happened. This is what we're doing to remedy the situation. Most customers are more than happy as long as you're taking care of it. Smokey, that gold with the 14-liter oil had bent pistons. I'm probably messed up a lot of stuff. Zeffel, would an engine even start if it was full of oil? It might fire a few times, but that would be a lot of a drag. The thing about it is it was a diesel, so if it did start, it would have just ate itself up because it had just ran on. Speed wrench, I enjoy the nuts and bolts part. Yes. The clerical side is not my favorite. I don't do the clerical side of it. But yeah, the BS side of auto repair is what I don't like. Garrett, we had a tech get fired. He wrote up a car for a radio, took the radio out, found out the old radio was unplugged, gave the new one back on O parts, and acted like he'd replaced it. He got caught. Ow. You can't do that. You just, at least be smart about it. Put the new one in and throw the old one away, or sell it on eBay. But yeah, that was not a good idea. Jamie Smith, one of our tire guys, road testing an Impreza, hit the limiter in every gear right past the customer coming back to the shop. He got all tires for free. Ouch. We'll tell this story. So this was many years ago. Had a Nissan, I think it was a 4-cylinder, and did a BG service on it. And the shop only had the stupid, like step bit type nozzle that you stuck in a vacuum line with the valve. You just, basically gravity fed it in, or vacuum fed it into the engine. And, car was carboned up to all get out, but I put a coil in it, 4 spark plugs, and did a BG service on it. But anyway, cranked it up, smoked like hell, did a BG service on it. And I pulled out of the shop, hammering on it to get the smoke to blow out. Well, the customer happened to be standing at the window. I didn't know they were waiting. And this is not meant to be inconsiderate, but, all I could see was the guy's bright white eyes looking through the tinted window at me, pulling out of his car with it smoking like a James Bond car. When I pulled back in, he ran out to the shop to check on his car. Purring like a kitten, was all good, but scared the snot out of that guy. Like, I'm sure my boss explained what we were doing and why I was doing that and all that, but yeah, that was kind of scared the guy a little bit. But yeah, if it was full, I don't know if a car would actually start. Paulo, one of our techs, dropped his weed pipe in a customer's car on an overnight test drive. Freaked out, but nothing came of it. Car's ashtray was full of roaches anyway. Keith, I have had some really get smart moments in my time. Did a record time clutch on a Jeep, jumped in, nothing happened, never put the drive shaft back in. I've never done it, but he used to post content, Thomas EXO VCDS. He pulled a transmission to do a clutch and forgot to put the clutch in. Never gone that far. That kind of job, never gone that far on a clutch job and not realized I didn't put the clutch in. Have almost. Was jacking up the transmission like, wait, I didn't put the flywheel on. I've done other stupid stuff. And if I think of it on this stream, I will mention them. T. Corellis, do you happen to know if Capri and Icon are made in the same factory area in Taiwan? I don't know where Capri's stuff is manufactured. No. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I don't know where Capri's tools are manufactured at all. So sorry, I can't answer that. Now keep in mind, not all of Icon's tools are made at the Cabo factory. Not all of Matco, rephrase that. Matco's Matco line of wrenches are made at Cabo. Their sockets are not, but I believe all of the Icon hand tools, as far as sockets, wrenches, etc., are made at Cabo. Harold, right now, retired right now, but have lots of fun memories. Maybe it's my age, but we get used to having more fun back in the day. Yeah, I used to have a lot more fun back a few years ago. Zeffel, two mechanics today have a horrible job. They're working on vehicles that are not designed to be repaired. Vehicles have never been designed to be repaired. They've always been designed to be built. They just are packing a lot more crap into a smaller package, which is one of the biggest problems. Motor breath. Ever left the spacer plate out of an engine swap? Fords, many times. I hate those Fords. Power Stroke Jude, appreciate the membership. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. But yes, that motor breath S, I've unfortunately had to pull engines back out. One transmission actually. Did a rear maintenance. No, I did an oil pan. And it was one of those where you pull the transmission, have to pull the mid plate out, and completely forgot to put the mid plate back in, put the flywheel back in, had the transmission up in there, and I looked down and see that mid plate, and I'm like, dang. Luckily, I think all I'd done is bolt like 3 bolts in, and like that. It wasn't like it was all back together. Engine I had almost completely back in though, and had to pull it back out. Bill Beckett, parts quality is going down severely. Devon McCowan, I forgot an antenna after a wiper motor replacement. Customer found it funny, luckily. I've unfortunately forgot to plug in window motors and have gotten it all back together. And I'm like, get it all back together, all the screws in it, go to open the window back up, and I'm like, what? Cause because of the way the harness went, unplugged it back to, cause I had, I've always tested window motors before I put the door panel back on because, window motors, had one Dorman that was wired backwards. So when you went to go up, it went down. When you went down, it went up. That was an easy fix, cut, swap wires, boom. But, so I've always tested them, but on that one particular incident, I should say, I had to take the harness. It was part of the door harness, so I had to unplug it off. That was part of the door panel. Unplugged it, put it away to put the covering back on. And like it was all self-contained other than I think the rod. I don't remember what kind of car it was, but it was literally plug in the speaker, plug in the window motor, and pop it back on or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, get it all back together. Every screw in it doesn't work. Sucks. Especially after you don't have any clips in the shop and you broke like 3 of them and you're hoping it stays on. Keith Kapinski, a lot can happen at a busy dealership. Seen techs forget to pump brakes after a service, put it in reverse, crash right into the building. Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen that too many times. I've been involved in it. It sucks. Harold, says you might look much happier and stress-free now, Mike. The new job must be less stressful. Yes, it is. Uh, Garrett replaced a transmission, forgot to check the seal on one of the transmission lines. He started up, had to go to the bathroom, had a mess to clean up when I got back. Yeah. I've had, I'll tell this story. Not long before I got fired, actually. A technician called in sick the day after he'd done a radiator or a condenser on a, Tahoe Yukon R1234YF. Line popped off. Luckily, it was by the porter was moving it. Had to go back in there, reconnect lines, clean up a hella mess. Had to wait for fluid to come in because I literally used every drop of deck 6 we had in the building to try to fill it back up, and we were still like way short because he lost that much fluid. But yeah, no, and that's not, and trust me, we had a string of, including me, string of Jeep Grand Cherokees, the Denso condensers for them, the push to connect transmission lines, the Jiffy Tights, don't go in. They will kind of sort of clip in, but not really. And I had one come loose, blow off. I think at least a couple more techs had them blow off. My solution to that was swap over the ones from the OE. I just unscrewed them, swapped the O-rings externally, and put the old ones back on. They worked every time. They never leaked. Or I ordered a OEM condenser. But yeah, I think everybody that's had a quick connect or transmission line or all that kind of stuff, we've all had it leak. Sucks. Speed Wrench, saved by the wings of Dorman, said no one ever. Every time I do a Dorman video, I get so many people saying that, when I talked about the 3.6 oil coolers and, the problem with them, and, the aftermarket ones wind up leaking. If you don't properly torque them, OEM ones leak. But everybody going, oh, Dorman makes these aluminum ones and I've put in a bunch of them and never had any problems. Are you sure? How many times have you seen that car? Because I can tell you I've warrantied a bunch of those that were aftermarket, or warrantied a few OEM. Do I think Dorman's better? No. And I go back to when they used horrible seals in like really intensive designs, like the 6.0 EGR heater kit that they used to sell for the 6.0 diesels. Power Stroke Jude probably remembers that kit. And the seals were so garbage that they literally blew out. But people praise Dorman for some reason. I mean, I can't tell you how many purge valves from Dorman I've taken off and thrown in the garbage. But anyway, I digress. Enoch Cheng, my boss wants the shop to do mobile work. He said we get half the labor he charges to the customer on top of our hourly. What do you think about this? I'm from Canada. I don't want to work outside. I don't like the prospect of mobile work. The problem with mobile work is whatever you've got with you is what you've got. It sounds like somebody that's never done mobile work. Now, admittedly, part stores aren't that far apart. I don't know where you live, but there's part stores around to go get something if you need something. But having done field repairs on diesel trucks where parts stores aren't that readily available, trust me, you will forget something you need. Simple as that. And you're going to spend a lot of time driving to parts stores, back to the shop to get tools you didn't remember to bring, you didn't realize you needed, etc. So I don't think it's that good of an idea, but whatever. Chris Rainville had a fellow tech do a rear brake job. Road tested without pulling the drums back out, without putting the drums back on. He was white as a ghost when he pulled back into the parking lot. I bet he was. Motor Breath did a side job on a Jeep with that transline clip 2 weeks until it blew off. Ugh, yeah. Usually don't blow off for a couple weeks till that transmission gets nice and hot, builds up some pressure, and then poof. Then you got a big ass mess to clean up, and well, it sucks. Speed Ranch, I'm not a fan of Dorman. I've been burned many times. Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's funny how often that happens. Garrett, another random question. What do you think about the Savannah George I'm guessing you mean Savannah Gorge. What do you think about that area around it as well? When I was looking at the art college there, I mean, all the areas around, I assume you mean Savannah Gorge, but I'm not real familiar with that area. Savannah's a ways away from me. That's, I've gone through Savannah. I think I've stayed there twice, maybe. So I'm not real familiar with it. What art college is it, by the way? T. Corellis, we had someone drive a couple 1,000 feet with our autocar yard horse with no oil in it. You'd think if the hood is open on a truck, it's still being worked on. It ended up needing a turbo. Ouch. Bill Beckett had a tenant put air in his trailer tire. He was using an air chuck with a retainer clip. He comes in the shop to use the phone with the air chuck connected, and all we heard was boom. Boy, that's loud. Yeah, if you've ever heard a tire explode, ow. Unfortunately, I was driving a truck that had a tire explode on it. It is loud. You think you're going to die. Kind of loud. Enoch, my boss said he would only accept jobs on cars 10 years old or newer, brakes, oil change, struts, battery, other simple stuff like that. I mean, changing out a battery usually isn't a big deal. I mean, still though, make sure you have, if you're doing struts, you have sway bar end links with you as well, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that'll really hang you up. Because you figure, let's say it's 10 minutes to the parts store and back. That's 20 minutes, plus however long you're in the parts store. So that's the stuff you got to think about when you're doing mobile work, is what might happen. Clip Z, hey man, we had a guy at our shop who's had so many oil spills, we made a whole whiteboard dedicated to counting them. That's hilarious. It's funny how many people cannot understand how to empty oil drums, oil catches. I don't know how they make those messes. You close the valve, you put the thing in the thing, and you put air to it, turn that valve on really slow. But yeah, I know we've had probably at the old shop a dozen Um, very catastrophic messes. Probably about a half dozen not as catastrophic messes. Every other shop I've worked at, you took the top off, you dumped it. So that's the only one that I worked at that had oil drains that you used air pressure to get them, empty them. Carl, I'm late to the party. How you going there, Carl? Carl, I'm late to the party, but I try to use just straight baby oil in our smoker, no color, ugh. Yeah, you really try to find medicinal quality baby mineral oil, not baby oil. The biggest problem with mineral oil in a smoke machine is the contaminants and the perfumes or color or whatever. That's what gums it up and screws it up. The expensive baby oil that, Smoke Pro, claimed was, proprietary. It was, because they had a patent on it, but it was medical grade mineral oil. That's all it was. It was like 99% pure. And then they added UV dye to it. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is get medical grade. Will cause you. Savannah, Georgia. Savannah College of Arts and Dye. So Garrett asked earlier, Savannah, Georgia. Okay, that makes more sense. That's my fault, not yours. I should have been able to figure that out when George. But anyway, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is a very cool town. Scad is a absolutely top-notch school. My stepson was seriously considering going there many years ago, but Scad is a exemplary college for arts and designs. So it's expensive, but a really good school. Cole, what's going on? Coleman. Oh. All right, let's see. Clips, one of our apprentices during an oil change also filled the car with oil before putting the drain plug putting the drain plug back in. Needless to say, all 4 liters went all over the floor. I'm unfortunately guilty of that. Forget what I was doing, but literally forgot to put the drain plug back in. And I could blame nobody but myself. Looked over at the drain pan. There it was sitting in the drain pan. So I was like, oh. Did not start the car, by the way. Garrett, okay. So same price as her current school, just the relocation. It is definitely an excellent school. Savannah's a very cool city to live in. So if she wants to relocate there and you're willing to foot the bill, I guess it's a good deal. Savannah is definitely a cool city. School is excellent. So there you go. Renegade, have a good one. Appreciate you stopping by. Let's see. Let's talk fires. I think I've told some of these stories before, but Keith, mistakes are part of the job. Yes, they are. And unfortunately, some managers can't understand that. Most techs are competent. It happens to the best of us. If it helps if your shop doesn't hang you out to dry. Yes. But yeah, a lot of times, I mean, it could be something as simple as, you know, distraction, could be, you know, the service writer hassling you about that car while you're working on that car and you forget something critical. You know, I can tell you I got pulled off of a car. This will be kind of a good story to tie in. 3.6 Jeep, by the way, was putting the, you know, was going back together with it. And, you know, I think I was doing an oil cooler, or actually, no, I think I was doing camshafts on this truck. And, you know, so valve covers had been off, and I was down to, you know, getting close to the end, and service writer comes up to me and like asks me about this car. And I'm like, okay, yeah, here's where I'm at. No, it's not going to be ready today. It'll probably be running today, but I won't have time to test drive it before, you know, traffic. Get it all back together, and I had not connected a bank of injectors. So of course, intake has to come back off because I got distracted while I was doing in the middle of my process, because I was laying on the, you know, top of the Jeep, plugging everything back in, because I believe I'd done an oil cooler on that one as well. But I'm pretty sure it was a camshaft job. But you know, that little distraction, did it cost anybody else anything? Nope. Just cost me time. Still a mistake. Still something that, you know, I implemented a change in my procedure when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know, and I always try to implement kind of that kind of stuff when I get pulled off a job or distracted, as I go back and I literally touch everything, because I want to make sure I don't have to go back and take, you know, 20 minutes to take an intake back off, because, you know, brackets all back on, etc. Takes a minute to get that intake off. But yeah. TW20 Craig doing oil flush at a charge right. Garrett, we need to look into it a bit more. We have a couple acres now, so we don't want to downsize. Yeah, no, I understand that. Chris Rainville, we work with a lazy parts guy. To get him back, I duct tape a couple full soda cans to the drive shaft of his pickup. Motor breath, 2 drain plugs, anyone? Yeah, Porsche. Worked on a few big trucks that had dual drain plugs. Only drain 1 and refill smoke show. Yeah. Or the Subarus where the transmission and oil, transmission pan and oil drain pans are very similar, and everybody always drains the transmission. No go and smoke. Been there, done that with technicians, not me. Like, yeah, I drained the fluid and it came out red. Working on, oh God. All right, I gotta go order transmission fluid. I'll be back in a minute. Stop. Clip says, for sure, Keith, you won't learn if you don't make a few mistakes. The best lessons in the world are mistakes. Period. End of story. Just got to hope the shop also recognizes that and helps you learn and improve from it. Yes. You know, everybody's going to make mistakes. You know, even massive mistakes happen. I mean, they just do. You know, I mean, I will give you a story. A former technician I worked with, he was working on a Focus, I believe it was, and he was doing a bunch of maintenance work on it and oil change, and the new, not the old ones, the new Ford spark plug broke off in the head, so the hex was no longer part of the threaded part, and so I had to help him get that out of that car. Service writer, of course, was, we need to get this back right now. They're going out of town. And so he, unfortunately, removed the spark plug. I got the rest of the spark plug out, which was kind of hairy because when I was putting a tool in to unscrew it, it started screwing down. Got it out. He puts new spark plug, another new spark plug in, ran fine. Well, the problem was he didn't do the oil change and it was low. On the drive back from their trip, engine locked up. Massive mistake. Cost the shop a engine. Just simply not doing stuff under protocol. Bad on him. Mistakes happen. But the thing is he learned from that mistake. And he's now working on Porsches and BMWs out in California. And that's the important thing when it comes to young technicians. They are going to make mistakes. You have to be there to support them, and you can't just throw them away because they make a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. I don't care who you are. You think you're perfect, you're not. Luckily, he was treated well. He wasn't, berated or fired. We just fixed the car and moved on. But my point of that is you're going to make mistakes, and the shop should understand that. If they don't, it's not a good place to work. In the shop, about time someone did this type of chat. I drove a city block with 100 rim clamp sensors on both passenger tires. In the shop, that is extremely common. Let's see. One shop I worked at, guy drove off with the sensor panels. So just, a mirror, and left, only came back with 2 of them. One, they recovered the clamp. The thing was broken. The other one, we have no idea where the hell it went. Worked at a shop that had the wireless. They were wireless for a little while. Actual with the electronics in them. Yeah. Guy drove down the street with them. Luckily, the Hunter guy had a couple in stock. But after that, the wireless part started not working. Oh, no. I'm sorry. They were wired. He broke the wires, drove off, broke, I think 2 of them, realized what was going on, ran out, grabbed the other ones. But the other 2, the electronics were destroyed. So, yeah. But that's extremely common. Harold cheered me up. Thanks. Past my bedtime in the UK. Look forward to bringing you a pint when you're over next. Appreciate it, Harold. Have a good one. Brent, second day in our new shop, I put a wheel in the middle of the alignment rack trying to make a turn, and they remedied the visual on the tight turn shortly after. Car was fine. All-wheel drive Audi SUV, I think. Ouch. Bill Beckett, the old saying about being a professional means you can fix your own mistakes. Yeah. Yep. Eric Jano, young tech, forgot to tighten a tire. He's a great tech for his age. he was almost in tears when he told me. I firmly told him blah blah. Then I told him my story of not tightening all 4 tires. Yeah, you have to have some humor and humility in this. I've always tried to do that. I talk about my mistakes and that kind of stuff. So, because everybody's going to make mistakes. I don't care who you are. Garrett, I think my most expensive mistake was rushing in a hurry, like it always in replacing a valve body, GM 8-speed. I forgot to disconnect the shift cable valve from the trans case, and well, it hit the floor. Oh. I don't know exactly what's involved in that, but it sounds expensive. Garrett, LOL, the driving with the Hunter rim clamp happened yesterday in my shop. Keith, they're always going out of town. The oldest line in the dealership. Motor Breath, best chat ever. I appreciate it. Dude, I hate that. I hate that. Oh, they're going out of town. Why is it here today when you're going out of town tomorrow? That's stupid. Yeah, no, I should do a video about the most common things heard in an auto repair shop. I'm selling it next week. Going out of town. Can you do me a favor? All that kind of stuff. Because I'm going out of town. And just, I really hate when you do major work on a car and they're like, yeah, they're taking it out of town. I just put an engine in this car. What do you mean they're taking it out of town? What do you mean they're taking it out of town? That's not a good idea, just simple, loose clamp can cost the shop an engine because they took it out of town. Alexi, what happened, man? Just talking funny stories, just trying to be entertaining, What's going on, Alexi? In the show. Clips, I once left a $2,500 Bluetooth OBD2 scan tool in a customer's car, never got it back. Not the most expensive mistake, but definitely felt, that does suck. I've luckily I've lost tools in cars. Probably my most expensive thing left in a car was a German-made push button flip out knife. You push the button and blade flips open. It cost me like $250 in the Snap-on truck. It was, that I don't know where this was decades ago. And it was not a Snap-on, garbage knife or whatever. It was like he bought these knives from somebody, it was a good German brand or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And it was probably the best knife I've ever owned. Like, it was surgeon scalpel sharp the entire time I owned it for like 2 years. And I left it in a customer's car. And they would not admit to be in their car. Sucks. But I've forgotten dongles. I've lost a little handheld a couple times, but never anything that big. I've come back from lunch, found an empty bay and my scan tool in a pile in my toolbox. But that wasn't my fault. That was because, I was working on the car before I left and the customer decided they weren't going to fix it and came immediately for some reason. Anyway, ever since you as well. Yes. Ever since you changed my battery, my brakes are grinding. Not how that works, but okay. Garrett, at a GM dealer, they're always going out of town. if it's a used or new car, they're always on an airplane from another state to come get it. It needs to be done tonight. Yeah. Mark, hey, FRM, are there many gay bars in your neighborhood? Do you attend? There are literally 0 bars in my neighborhood. I'm in the suburbs. I'm not in Atlanta. And no, I don't go to gay bars. Second message got retracted, but I will give you a story. When my wife managed a property in Midtown, the buildings, she managed 4 buildings, and between the 4 buildings was a lesbian bar. And she knew a bunch of the bartenders. She knew a bunch of the patrons. She knew the owner, because having to deal with them because of, problems with the properties. And they invited us over for an event. And I could tell you, being a straight couple in a lesbian bar, uncomfortable. And then when the comedians came up there and started talking about the straighties, were like, bye. But anyway, no real reason to be uncomfortable. Nobody was anything but nice to us, but, not me and my wife's crowd. Zepho left my pet rattlesnake in a customer's car, never did get it back. Eclipse, yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't expensive, as it didn't cost them a new motor, and the labor on that definitely will still costly as sin, though. Yeah, that does suck. I mean, it does. Mistakes happen. I mean, I don't care. You learn from your mistakes. You move on. Anyway, all right. All right, so trying to think of a good story to close this out on. Matt Elbury, Ford dealer, had a car drop off by a customer. The customer said, "I'm going out of town. I need an oil change." Dealer said, "You need a new engine, so sent you a enterprise to get a rental car." Ray once found a 10mm radiator housing, found again when replacing radiator hose. Jeez. Mark, I don't. My wife is currently hanging out with a lesbian. I've hung out with gay men. Doesn't matter to me. My politics are very libertarian. Be you. As long as you don't hurt anybody else, I don't care what you do. If you want to do that, do that. I don't care. So, I'm not, I don't care about that. It's just, as long as you're not involving children or hurting anybody else, be you. So anyway, yeah, no, I don't care. Keith, this is the best topic ever. Made my day. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Ever fix an evap problem and leave the clamp on the return line? Bought a lot of clamps over the years. I have these rubber plugs that fit over. I've got, there's a couple different sizes, but the two sizes, I work on a lot of evap systems for plugging the output line. And so I'll pull them off and then plug the line with that. It works great for evap testing. And unfortunately, like I've had 3 Jeep Grand Cherokees that declined while I was at lunch. And the only thing I hadn't done, because I didn't want to do it before I went to lunch, like I pulled the smoke machine off, all the lines after testing the purge valve and all that were back together. The only thing I hadn't done is shove my arm between the wheel well and, to get to the leak detection pump, ISM, whatever you want to call it, pull that plug back off, put the hose back on. Every one of those came back, can't fill my tank with gas. And I'm like, oh, that's where that plug went to. Because I had spares. So I'd pull it in, put it up on the lift, flink, put the hose back on. Usually I do it one trip. I pull the whole thing off and put it on my finger. Put it on my finger and put the hose back on. I could do it by feel. Took me like 2 minutes to plug that evap system on those Grand Cherokees. And, but yeah, they came back. I can't fill my tank up. Should have fixed your evap problem. Just saying. Yeah. I haven't lost any clamps because I do that. Eric Jano, ever had a car fall off a lift? My worst nightmare. Me personally, no. I've had some questionable circumstances, but I've never actually had one fall on me personally. I've had some teeter-totters, that kind of stuff. I had one that was being picked up by the gas tank on one side because I'd put it back down, and I think there was a hose under that arm because I didn't drop it all the way down, but there was a hose on that arm, and so it deactivated the arm lock, and it had swung on. So I didn't even think about it. I thought the car was still racked, and picked it back up, and it was into the gas tank. It didn't leak. Had a nice little dent in it for a while. But on that same note, I worked for Challenger lifts for a couple years. And so I had to investigate vehicles falling off lifts. And I had one shop, 2 different techs had cars fall off. One was a F-150 or F-250, and it had the kick-up frame, and they were the old in-grounds, and he'd put it just barely on the kick-up. With the customer watching, he took the wheels off, and the truck went boink. Just landed on the bumper. No actual damage. Then we had a Impala roll off the alignment rack. That was not in front of the customer. And then I investigated I've told this story before, but I want to rephrase that. Like a Christian Brothers had the same kind of truck fall off 2 different lifts. They were blaming the Challenger lifts. And so I went out there, met with the technician, one of the technicians that had it happen to him. And I'm like, here's my Chevy Duramax. spot this truck like how you would those other trucks, because it was a Silverado. I owned a 2500, and he pulled it in way too shallow, started jacking it up. I go, stop. Proceeded to walk behind the back of my truck. My truck could pick up the back of my truck and teeter-tot it because he had so far backwards. And what that would do, because of the waxed coated frames on GM trucks, the drop-in style, lift points would stick to the wax. You'd pick the truck would teeter and fall off. All you had to do is pull it more forward. So I was able to prove to that shop it was user error, not the lifts. The other ones, literally the concrete was insufficient. Whole political mess between Challenger and ATD because shenanigans with the ATD salesman, but the lifts literally pulled out of the ground. But that was installer error, not the lifts again. Matt, I have Challengers on order. Are they still a good lift? They are stupid expensive. They are stupid expensive. The CL10 V3 is probably the best lift on the market, in my opinion. That's not a Mohawk, and I'm not a big fan of Mohawk. Mohawks are built like tanks, but the lifting mechanism based on the forklifts thing is stupid. They're over-engineered, so there's other problems with them. But I think the Challenger lifts are still... the Challenger CL10 V3, the US-made lift, is excellent. But yeah, steel's getting expensive. Paulo, leaving the screw jack under the car is a good way to knock it off the lift. Yes. 3-inch Cephal, 3 inches of concrete is good enough for any lift. It was actually about 4 inches of a skim coat of Quickcrete. No reinforcement, nothing. They literally spread it over like it was spackle. But yeah. So yeah, no. Challenger, I haven't worked for them for a very long time, but they're definitely... Are you getting the Challenger 12,000 or the E12 or whatever their current model is? The imported lifts are still excellent. I don't know if they still do because they've been bought out by Snap-on, but they're Chinese-made lifts. They had in-house engineering to make sure they were made to withstand 12,000 pounds. And just a side note, if you've ever seen a ALI test of a lift, you would appreciate the safety measures that they go through for ALI. That's the Automotive Lift Institute's safety inspection. I watched them drop 12,000 pounds on a Challenger lift, hydraulic, all fluid dumped in a blink of a second, and basically just below a lock to a lock, and you could feel it in your chest. And I was on a gangway above, going into the engineering offices. Yeah. 3-stage arms made in America. Yeah. Those are awesome lifts, Matt. You will love those lifts. The side note, the screw-in design of the CL10s are based on the CL12s double screws. So no, you're going to be extremely happy with Challenger lifts. I've seen drop-off alignment. Yeah. That's why there's supposed to be the kick-up pads at the back of an alignment riff. So when you lift it up, that they come up so you can't roll off. Older ones don't have that though. Yeah, but that's literally why they have those when the you know, the ramps flip up and they have the thing to block the tire from rolling off, because that's why. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, yeah, I haven't, you know, all right, I think we've had a pretty good, funny night. I hope everybody had fun. I'm going to go ahead and call it right here. Dang, I got 52 viewers. Appreciate everybody stopping by and checking out the stream. It was a fun one. Enjoyed hearing and telling stories, so I appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master. Clips, rotary lifts are good. They wear out faster than Challenger lifts. So I'll leave you with that. Glad everybody enjoyed it. Have a good night, y'all.